let's talk about episodes 4 and 5 of Bridgerton. This review is going to feature a wine that I would pair with these two episodes, and we're really going to dive into the details. I have to tell you guys, these were my favorite ones. And maybe 6, but we'll get to that later. Let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, before we even go too far, if you are somebody who thoroughly enjoyed the Bridgerton series, you've got to go back and watch my first 2 reviews because I'm going bit by bit through the season, okay? And if you love wine, then you can watch the replay of this series just like I have and pick up the ones that I'm pairing with all of the episodes. Let's talk about episodes 4 and 5. Okay, wine friends, first things first. In episodes 4 and 5, I feel like we have a lot going on. It's interesting because when you first start this series, you're watching it and you're kind of like, man, this is getting interesting. And it's like all of the introductory stories in 1, 2, and 3, it explodes. It starts exploding in episodes 4 and on. So the whole Marina being pregnant thing, it's really interesting that this is continuing, and I think it's interesting that they're setting us up to see that there's going to be some type of scandal around this because they're making such a big deal out of the fact that she's pregnant and she's staying with her family, extended family, the Featheringtons. Also in episodes 4 and 5, we see them kind of dive a little bit deeper into the Duke and Daphne's relationship. And I must say, I did really kind of enjoy their journey to falling in love. It was kind of this, we see more of it in these episodes, and I think that's why they were my favorite. If we skip ahead through everything, let's just get to the end of episode 5 real quick. When they get married and they finally, at the end of episode 5, I feel like I need to have like one of those finally, like they finally confessed. And this man said, I burn for you, baby. I probably would have been ready to. I will say, I saw a meme that was like, whatever happened to, and that whole thing that he says in front of the queen when he's like, it's a blessing basically to marry your best friend. I feel like these 2 episodes were riddled with really great kind of lessons on life and love. His Lady Danbury, who I call her auntie, I feel like that's his auntie. Like, it was his mom's best friend. You know, you call your parents' friends auntie and uncle anyway. So Auntie Danbury pulls him aside in episode 4 before they get to the wedding. This is in the beginning of right after their separation in episode 3. And she kind of gives him this talk. And I really appreciated that talk. It was a good reminder of how important it is to have our elders around us, to make sure you have wise counsel around you. Because she really was just like, you're a fool if you let her go. Like, it's obviously you have feelings for her and you can't let your pride get in the way of that. And we've come so far. Now granted, this is one of the first, I would say, probably scenes that it's blatantly they're blatantly addressing this modernized version of what Bridgerton is, because clearly in the 1800s, you know, you wouldn't have seen as many affluent African Americans on the scene as we do in Bridgerton. So what Shonda did in this show was take a very integrated society and made it something livable and beautiful. And his Auntie Danbury is saying to the Duke, like, hey, like, we've come a long way. We've come a long way so that you could love her. Don't let this moment pass you by. And it was a beautiful scene. Definitely one that I felt like, listen, you better listen to your auntie before you miss out on a good thing. Now, what was interesting about this whole unfolding of their romance and journey to the altar that we clearly couldn't have expected until episode 5, is in episode 4, right after they break up and Daphne is still on the scene. It reminded me of, like, you know, back in the day when you were like dating and that guy who let you get away and you had to pop out. Right? You had to step out on the scene and you had to be in your baddest and your flyest, on your Mary J status, like, you know, with the bad boots, ready to pop it, you know, in the club while he's watching. Hey! That's exactly what this whole episode 4 is. She wears the necklace the prince gives her. She's attending these balls where the Duke is, and she's basically just showing off. And she looks amazing doing it. And so that was really fun. I think the scene in the garden that actually led to Daphne's brother and the Duke having a duel was really interesting as well, because it made me very grateful that we don't still live in those times. Like, my honor needed to be defended because somebody decided to kiss me in the dark. Like, listen, I don't know if you listen, that scene, that kiss, y'all, I was like, oh my God, ruin my honor, why don't you? And then her brother came and ruined the moment. I was really excited. I thought that things were going to escalate then. But true to the times, Daphne was a lady. And the whole defending their name, their family name, I understood it. But to me, it felt like her brother, he has a lot of growing to do. Anthony is very, very prideful. Throughout this entire series, and I think that had he been able to put his pride aside, he probably actually could have built something beautiful with Sienna. And the one thing I could say that I struggled with the most with this through this series was his and Sienna's relationships, because all of the other women were marrying up, and I don't see why he could not have married down technically, and Sienna would have been marrying up. I mean, I get that he has to uphold the family name and blah, blah, blah. And though she doesn't come with a dowry and everything else, the Bridgertons have plenty of money. Like, do you even need it? You love her, be with her. That part kind of sucked. But, you know, such is life, right? Okay, wine friends, for episodes 4 and 5, I am pairing Smith Devereaux's white blend. This is the California white. And you guys have heard me mention this. You've seen it before. But you know what? For these were my favorite 2 episodes. And I wanted to pair my favorite white wine with it because I thought we needed something a little more refreshing. This is the tension in the series that, I don't want to say it felt good, but it just wasn't as insane as the next few episodes we're going to talk about. And so I wanted something really good. Their wedding, episode 5, it just rounded out really nicely with them finally coming together. It truly was a celebratory moment. They made it to the altar and then they finally confessed that, hey, I actually do love you. And so I thought that this white blend would be very, very good for that. This white blend is super refreshing. It's got crisp citrus notes. I get a little floral on the nose. It's a beautiful white. You can chill it a little. Honestly, this is a white that I can pop open and drink it anytime. It is one of my favorite white blends. So I want you guys to make sure that you pick this up and try it and enjoy it for episodes 4 and 5 of Bridgerton. Now let's get back into the series. So there were some really good lines in episodes 4 and 5 that they just delighted my little soul. One thing that I do love about Shonda is, and I guess she has a writing team, but one thing she is famous for in all of her series is having like really good one-liners, like really good, like those one-liner punchers. There's quite a few of them that we still recite from Scandal and Grey's Anatomy to this day, right? And so I think there's some really, really good ones in Bridgerton. My favorite ones in episodes 4 and 5. In episode 4, when Daphne said, your apology has no effect on my life. Girl, baby girl. I was like, tell him, sis, tell him. Because, you know, so often people apologize and they think that your whole world should turn and you should just immediately like, oh, okay, you're sorry? All right, we can be besties again. No, sometimes that's just not enough. And I love that she was like, I'm not sweating you, basically. That was a great line. Now, episode 5, when they finally, you know, they announce their engagement and everything, and they're getting ready to promenade around, and they are waiting on the Duke to actually show up to one of the picnic or the societal events. And he shows up late, and he shows up drunk. And so Auntie Danbury is just like, I mean, he's like walking really slowly, and they're all watching him, and she's like, don't make haste on our account. Baby, I'm gonna use that, okay? Please, don't make haste on my account when I'm trying to be sarcastic. Like, can you hurry your up? It was hilarious. And her facial expression, and it's really interesting because you guys know how proper they are. It was just entertaining because she snapped on him. And then when he finally gets over to them, and she's just kind of like, well, did you bring the bar with you? I felt like that's what she really wanted to say in her spirit. Now, granted, she did say, did you bring the bar with you? But I feel like I didn't get the oomph that I felt when she said that. It was one of those mom tones. You know when your mom would talk to you, and it would be one of those situations that you're like, you can tell what she really want to say, but she's being nice because she in front of company. That's what that was. And it was absolutely hilarious. I loved it. So the unfolding of the whole Colin and Marina love story, or not so love story, it really comes to a head in episode 5, and Colin proposes, and his family is just kind of like, wait, what? Like, we knew you were flirting with her, but we didn't know it was anything serious. I was really disappointed with Marina. I just felt like she was gonna be I thought she was gonna be different than her Featherington family. But to me, the apple never falls far from the tree, and she clearly didn't fall far, because at the moment that he was like, let's get married, I'd have been like, Colin, can I tell you something first? And then you can decide. And it's interesting because we see this come full circle in episode 7, and it's just kind of like, sis, you should have chose better. You should have done better. And it was really sad that she wasn't honest. I think that it hurt her more in the long run. The Queen and her husband. There's a scene in episode 5 with the Queen and her husband that kind of like, it broke my heart a little. He obviously is suffering with dementia or something of the sort. And watching her kind of have to like struggle with that in this moment, because up until now we haven't really seen him. I mean, if you know the history of him, this is part of it aligns with history, right? So I think this is the king who was known as the Mad King, maybe. But he had dementia, and he was clearly struggling. And I feel like she was so involved in everybody else's business because she had a business of her own. But you hear about the loss. They obviously lost a child, and it's in that moment that I really, really feel for the Queen. I feel like I have a full understanding of where she is in life. Maybe not completely who she is. I feel like there's so much more for us to see there. But where she is a really tough place, and I think we've all been there. She's lost her child, she's lost her husband, and it's just her in this big old castle ruling over, you know, a place that I don't know if it's her home or not. That's a love story I would like to see, actually. I would be interested, and I'll be intrigued to see if Shonda ever does like a flashback. You know, the longer her shows go on, the more flashbacks we get. So I'm wondering if in future seasons of Bridgerton, if we're going to get a glimpse of her love story, and also Lady Danbury's, because Lady Danbury is a widow, and I'm dying to know what happened there. Okay, so to wrap up episodes 4 and 5, I have to tell y'all, the love scene and the honeymoon between Daphne and Simon was everything that this series needed. And baby, the love, I queued so many R&B love songs in my head while watching that scene. And I was just like, this is beautiful. Even the classic Maxwell hit from Love and Basketball that we all know because of that movie. Perfect moment. I don't know why we didn't use that. I feel like Shonda should have asked me about that, and I totally would have gave her that hit because it would have been a good moment. But it came full circle, and it was really nice to see them loving on each other. And I feel like what we waited for this entire series, for them to finally admit how they feel. I want to know what parts of episodes 4 and 5 surprised you the most. I feel like we had a lot of surprises. There was a lot to keep up with because there were so many developments between episode 4 and 5. So I want you to tell me in the comments what you thought. What surprised you? What took you like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. I want to hear from you down below. Thanks so much for watching this review. And before you guys ask, this sweatshirt is from Etsy, but all of the jewels and adornment, the pearls, were added by me. So I will drop the link to the sweatshirt down below. And I mean, I don't have a tutorial. I just hand stitched some pearls on the sweatshirt. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching and hanging with me during my Bridgerton review series. Cheers to our next episodes.